A big storm will bring severe weather to the United States as we go through this week, including the threat for damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes, in addition to some flash flooding. My voice, by the way, I have a cold, so bear with me through the video here. I know it sounds annoying, but I got to do this weather forecast for y'all. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, give it a thumbs up, and of course, share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. Let's look here at a double-barreled area of enhanced risks across Minnesota, down here into Nebraska today, where numerous severe thunderstorms are likely. This is where we could be seeing some mesoscale convective systems in the form of some damaging winds, especially down here in Nebraska. That's where we could be seeing those 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts as we go throughout the day today. And that could lead to the potential of some wind damage across Nebraska there in the Cornhusker State. We also are monitoring the potential for even some large hailstones. Some of those hailstones could be up to hen egg size potentially here across Minnesota, northwestern Iowa, into portions of northern Nebraska, stretching back into Wyoming and southern Montana. And then we have a localized tornado threat, including the big city of Minneapolis and even over here toward Rochester in Minnesota as we go through the afternoon and the evening. A lot of storm energy out there today, 4,000 joules per kilogram of instability up here into Minnesota, southward into northern Iowa, another pocket of that over here into central and western Nebraska. That's going to feed into that mesoscale convective system going into the late afternoon and into the evening hours. And here we go. This is at noon time frame today. We got a couple isolated rogue thunderstorms across the Hawkeye state of Iowa, a couple of them down into Missouri and northern Arkansas. These are sub-severe, not likely to be severe over the next few hours. Going into the mid-afternoon, this is about 3, 4 o'clock. Notice we got some stronger storms trying to develop up there in north central Minnesota, just north and west of the Minneapolis-St. Paul vicinity. These could start to produce some damaging winds and some hail. Isolated storm coverage down here in South Dakota and Nebraska by mid-afternoon. It's really the evening hours after dinner time where we start to see those big supercells develop in Nebraska. This could lead to a wind threat, a hail threat, and a localized tornado threat as we go into the early portion of this evening. 6, 7, 8 o'clock here this evening. Be on the lookout there around the Lincoln area, Hastings over here toward Omaha as we go into the late evening hours with a renegade complex of storms that will cross from west to east across Nebraska, bringing that wind damage threat where we could be seeing those 75, 80 mile per hour wind gusts. The good news is this starts to weaken as it pushes into Iowa. So if you're in Des Moines, if you're in Kansas City, an outflow boundary could bring some gusty winds here early tomorrow morning on Tuesday. But other than that, not really looking at any formidable thunderstorm activity by then. These storms mean business as far as moisture is concerned. Could be seeing the potential of 1 to 3 inches worth of rain in a quick amount of time here as these storms move through Minnesota, parts of Iowa, back here into Nebraska and northern Kansas. So that will be a concern as far as flash flooding in a hydrological standpoint. Looking here tomorrow on Tuesday, June 17th, we have another enhanced risk down here into portions of Kansas, including the Wichita area over toward Topeka. And this could be, again, for some numerous severe thunderstorms developing as we go through the day. Damaging winds up to 75 miles per hour will be the main threat here. And we see the potential of some really large hailstones, again, hen egg size or larger, those 2 to 3 inch diameter hailstones. And then another localized tornado threat. This time it's not in Minnesota, it's down in Kansas, stretching up into northern Missouri and southern Iowa. A 5% chance here in the brown, a 2% chance here in the green. And again, tomorrow, we have a lot of instability here, 4,000 to 5,000 joules per kilogram, more than enough to get some big time thunderstorms going. So already tomorrow morning, this is ongoing activity from overnight tonight into your Tuesday morning. And this could still be posing a risk for some wind and hail, although on a weakening trend going through your morning hours here into central and eastern Kansas. This will really weaken as it approaches Wichita and Topeka and even Kansas City. by mid-morning on Tuesday. And then what happens behind it? The atmosphere starts to recover and we start to get a lot more instability going into the afternoon. And then by the evening hours, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, a big mesoscale convective system, fancy for a squall line, will start to push through southern Nebraska down into Kansas. These have a tendency to move from west to east initially, but then as we have cold pool and rain cooled air, they shift more to the southeast here because the food, right? The food is the instability. And it really starts to take advantage of that instability. So watch out Wichita, watch out Topeka, Kansas City, big line of storms as we go into late tomorrow after dark. Could be up to 75, maybe even 80 miles an hour again down here as we go into the early morning hours on Wednesday. And this also will be spreading some pretty heavy rainfall across the Central Plains. Another area I'm concerned about is the Midwest here. Let's look at tomorrow morning. Notice we got the renegade, what we call an MCV. This is a mesoscale convective vortex, basically a mini low pressure system that these storms produce on the leading edge, and they kind of act as their own weather system on a smaller scale. And by middle of the day on Tuesday, we're still seeing some sunshine peeking out, mix of sun and clouds into Illinois Valley, down into eastern Missouri here in Indiana. This should get the atmosphere at the surface to really start to become unstable. And then by midday into the afternoon, we're going to start to see storm activity along the Mississippi River here in eastern Iowa, down into northeast Missouri and western Illinois, blossom very quickly from that MCV, that mesoscale convective vortex. And that could take advantage of the instability and moisture out there and produce some 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts and some quarter size hail. The tornado threat is a little bit uncertain. It does look like a line of storms. It's linear. So I'm not really too concerned about tornadoes here, but I would not be shocked to see a brief tornado spin up along the leading edge of this line here, or at least as those supercells initially develop before they move into a line as they move through this region. So Chicago, Rockford, Peoria, Milwaukee, and even into Gary, Indiana, Fort Wayne, you all want to be on high alert tomorrow afternoon and evening for the potential for those storms. Like I said, those two areas of storms we just mentioned, very heavy rainfall. Obviously, the one is more significant over here in Kansas. That could drop some real heavy rainfall. Flash flooding threat will be there, maximized north of Wichita there in central and northeastern Kansas. Into portions of Nebraska, could be seeing a couple of inches of rain there, and then into north central Illinois, around the Illinois Valley on northward, and then over here into northern Indiana as well, seeing a couple inches of rain. Now going to Wednesday, June 18th, slight risk of severe weather, literally from Detroit all the way down to the Red River Valley here in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, down into St. Louis, Indianapolis, Chicago, Louisville, down to Evansville and Carbondale. You guys are all included in this on Wednesday. And then that frontal system shifts east here on Thursday, June 19th, into the mid-Atlantic. So Washington, D.C., Philly, Baltimore, all the way down here into the Raleigh area, North Carolina. Damaging winds, large hail will be the main threats with some tornadoes. Now going into Friday, June 20th, as you can imagine in this pattern, it's very uncertain as we go further and further out because each day's storms will affect the next day. So predictability from the Storm Prediction Center is pretty low here, but things could get a little bit more certain as we do get closer to the day on Friday. So here we go on Wednesday. There's the frontal system. We got showers and storms moving across the southern Great Lakes, Ohio and Tennessee River Valley, down to the southern plains. Any one of these storms will tap into that moisture and instability, and they could be severe as we go into Thursday. Same deal, this time further east though, into the mid-Atlantic. And then as we go into Friday, right now a little bit uncertain, but we are eyeing the upper Midwest again. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and northern Iowa for another mesoscale convective system north of the apex of that ridge, right? We got a big heat wave down here in the southern and central plains. It's over top of that ridge, what you hear ridge riders, right? That's the type of weather pattern we're in as we enter the late week there on Friday. There's that ridge we're talking about for the weekend, and it's really going to park itself over the southeast and the eastern United States and bring one of the more significant heat waves to the United States here, at least for the first part of the summer here. And looking here at the ring of fire pattern, right? This is their jet stream over top of that ridge. And we're watching a very synoptically strong system moving into the Pacific Northwest early here in the weekend, and that will crash in over top of that ridge. That could bring some localized significant severe weather to the picture into the upper Midwest, northern plains, and perhaps the Great Lakes region as we go into the early next week time frame. We're talking Monday the 23rd and Tuesday the 24th. So Looking here first at Saturday, June 21st, a lot of instability again. Notice where you see the purples, whites, grays, and blacks. That's 4 to 5 to even 6,000 joules per kilogram. That's basically maximized. And then notice it moves even further north toward the U.S.-Canadian border as we go into that Sunday time frame on the 22nd. And then as you can imagine, this is going to start to break down further south into early next week. So what does this mean in the grand scheme of things is that we're going to have a lot of ridge rider type of disturbances that produce mesoscale convective systems, squall lines, bow echoes that produce very strong damaging winds and some wind damage out there, large hail and tornadoes, and eventually potentially even a derecho threat. A derecho is a fast moving line of thunderstorms producing that widespread hurricane force wind gust threat. Hail and tornadoes and flash flooding with torrential rain is all embedded in that type of scenario. That will be something we'll watch into the north central U.S. going into the middle of next week. The ensemble model is on board with that. Above normal precipitation here into the upper Midwest through the end of June. This goes through Monday, June 30th. So if you're in the upper Midwest, yes, it's dry. A lot of us are going to be getting some moisture as we round out the month here in June. Let's talk temperatures. It's going to be hot out there. 112 in Phoenix this afternoon. We're pushing 122 in Death Valley as we go into this afternoon. 90s into the plains and the southeast. Enjoy the cooler weather in the upper Midwest and northeast because it's going to start to get hotter as we go through the week progressively. You can see by Wednesday, it is still pretty nice up here with the frontal system moving through on Wednesday, but here comes that return flow by Thursday, and notice the 90s really start building even triple digits into the central plains, into eastern Colorado, so we're even talking the front range getting very hot by Friday, and getting into Saturday, Sunday, that heat just expands. We could be seeing triple digit heat index values into places like Chicago, Des Moines, and into Detroit and Cincinnati by the time we reach the end of the weekend there on Sunday, June 22nd. Let's talk about the tropics. The East Pacific, the National Hurricane Center has a 90% chance of development here over the next 7 days. This looks to be a formidable tropical system for southern Mexico over the next 7 days, as this could be producing some very heavy rainfall. We're watching this develop probably as soon as Wednesday, June 18th, and this is going to bring onshore flow of some very heavy tropical moisture in southern Mexico. Flash flooding threat is going to be huge late this week and into the weekend there. So if you live in southern or even central Mexico, make sure you're on guard for the potential of some very heavy rainfall and flash flooding threats going into the end of this work week. As far as the Atlantic is concerned, National Hurricane Center and myself are all in agreement that a tropical activity is not expected over the next 7 days in the Atlantic basin. That includes the Caribbean and the Gulf. We'll keep you updated if anything changes on that here in the long range. Well, thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I do apologize again for my voice. I have a bad cold, trying to hopefully get my voice back to normal as we go through the week here, so bear with me again in my videos. But again, subscribe to the channel. We do daily weather forecast breakdowns. Like the video, getting this vital information out to more and more people, and share it with a friend, family member on social media. If you want to leave a comment down below, a question, a concern, make sure to jot that down in the comment section down below. And of course, turn on your post notifications so you're notified for future videos and live streams that we do here on the Weather on the Go channel. I do appreciate all your support. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day out there.